In this video, we're going to have a look at the layer widget, and specifically we're going to have a look at how we can use images as background for the layer widget. So I got a blank page here, and I'm just going to start obviously by dragging in a layer. And as you can see, if I just drag it in here to the middle of the page and let go, nothing will happen. You need to remember to pull a widget and drop it into a drop zone, like here. You can see it goes all blue. I'm just going to drop it in here, and now we have our layer widget. If you look to the right in the properties, you can see we've got a bunch of options here. We're just going to look at the image and background for this video. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set a image as the background of this layer. To do that, I just click on this tiny image icon, which will open up my media library. And here I'm just going to click this image. So I don't need to drag, I just click once and it will automatically insert that image as a background. Now looking at it, it looks a bit weird because it's chopped off. And the reason for that is the layer has a height. And when you drag in a layer, it doesn't really have a height set. So if you look down here on the right, you see it says minimum height. And for this demonstration, I'm going to do 100 VH, which basically means 100% of the device viewport. Think of it as the screen that you're viewing the page on. So it's if an iPhone or an iPad, that's the total height. So I'm giving it 100 VH for the total height. Now you can see the image is filling the entire screen of the device. So that looks pretty good. You will always want to have a look at different devices. So up here, I'm going to hit on the phone. You can see it minimizes. I'm going to go on phone landscape as well, which is kind of a cool feature. It reveals more of the image. And what it does when you set an image as a background of a layer is it will never stretch or distort the image. It will always try and fit it on the device. So here on landscape, it can show more of the edges. If you go in portrait, it's just going to zoom in on the image and show less of the left and right. Go back to the iPad, you can see the full image again. So let's have a look at the second option, which is image position. What this basically means is where is the focus? What part of the image do we always want to show? So if I go here on the portrait, I'm going to change the image position to center right. And you can see what it does is it moves the image so it shows always the right side horizontally, and vertically it's centered. If I go back to the iPad view, you can see this might actually suit better for this image, as in this case I want to show the stage and also a bit of the audience. If I go back to the default, which is center, you can see half of the stage is cut off and there's a lot of audience. So maybe, I'd rather want to show the full stage, so I just go center right. And here we go again, the stage. Go back to the phone. Again, you always want to check how it looks on the different devices, and on a phone landscape, it looks really great. iPad landscape as well. If we have a look at image size, cover means that the layer will not stretch, but zoom in on the image to always fit horizontally and vertically. If we change this to original size, it will show the original size of the image. So this is the size of the original image. And in this case, it's not a really good option. If we change it to 100% width, it will zoom in on the image. It won't stretch it, but it will just make sure that it's always 100% of the device width. If you go on the phone landscape, it will actually all fit the screen entirely. So on an iPad portrait, again, this isn't really ideal. It's not what we're looking for. If we change it to contain, you will notice that it doesn't really have any difference here. Contain means that it will zoom in on the image until it either hits maximum width or maximum height. So contain and cover are probably the ones that you'll be using the most. Again, the difference here is if you choose cover, it will zoom in so that the image fits both the height and the width, or until both of them are filled out. Let's have a look at another example where we're using images. Here on the page, you can see I have a columns widget, and I have 3 columns. All I did here was I dragged in an image into each column, and you can see these are different images and different sizes as well. So it doesn't look very aligned. Instead of just dragging in an image, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 layer widgets into the column, and then I'll set each of these images as a background image, and then we'll see how it looks. Alright, here you can see the layer will actually make sure that all the images are at the same height. Now for some images this works better than others, especially if you have more of an abstract background image type. You can also go in and make sure that they always have the same height by going in and giving the layer a minimum height, and for this case we're going to try and do 30 VH, which is 30% of the device height. We're just going to do that for all 3 of them. There we go. So now you can see they're more aligned, and again here we can play with the image position. For this one I want to have center right, and then it looks great. It will resize and always look good on the device size and orientation. As a final example, let's have a look at this image again that we used earlier. This time I set the layer to be a minimum of half of the device height, and you'll see what happens to the image when I go in landscape mode. You can see how the top of it is getting chopped off, and really a good way to combat that again is playing around with the image position. So instead of doing center center, I'm going to say I want to have the top center, so the focus should be on the top and the image should be centered. So as soon as I tap that, you'll see the image moves down and the focus is at the top vertically and center horizontally. And now when I switch in between both portrait and landscape, it still looks great. The important parts of the image are always shown. So that concludes the image and background of the layer widget. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.